अस्सलाम वालेकुम दोस्तों, कैसे हैं आप? ये आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के लिए एक सेमिनार में एक स्पीच है। इसको सुनिएगा। इसमें से आपको बहुत सी चीज़ें मिलेंगी जो आपको अपने मुस्तकबिल का फ़ैसला करने में आसानी पैदा कर देंगी। इसमें कुछ अच्छी चीज़ें भी हैं, उसमें कुछ बुरी भी हैं। आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस यानी एआई को उन्होंने एलियन इंटेलिजेंस कहा है, यानी बनाया इंसान नहीं है और उसको ऑपरेट कर रहा है कंप्यूटर। आप एआई चैट में जा जीपीटी चैट में जाके देख लें, आप जैसी क्वेश्चन करते हैं उसका आंसर फौरी तौर पे आ जाता है। और उसके नुकसानात या उसके फ़ायदे ये बनने हैं कि अगर आप इस पे आज तारी ना हुए यानी हावी ना हुए तो कल ये आपको अडॉप्ट कर लेगा और आपकी ज़िंदगियों को फिर अपनी मर्ज़ी से चलाएगा। बेहतर है आप मशरफ़ुल मखलूक़ात होते हुए आप इस पे हावी हो जाएं, इससे फ़ायदा भी उठाएं और इसको अपनी मर्ज़ी से डालें भी सही। हाँ, बीच में कोई अगर शैतानी क़ुव्वत या शैतान किसी हर इंसान में शैतान मौजूद है, अगर किसी ने शैतानी ना की तो तब तक आप इसका फ़ायदा उठा सकते हैं। और मेरा मशवरा ये है कि आज इससे जितना आप फ़ायदा उठा सकते हैं वो उठा लें, वरना आपकी ज़िंदगियों में आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के अलावा कुछ भी नहीं रहेगा। आर्ट की फॉर्म में देख लें या दुनिया की या ज़िंदगी के हमारे जो भी मामलात हैं या हमारे माशरे में जो चीज़ें चल रही हैं, उन चीज़ों को समझते हुए अब आपने फ़ैसला करना है कि आपने इसको काबू करना है या आपको इसने काबू करना है। हम इख्तिताम की तरफ तो जा ही रहे हैं। जितना फ़ायदा उठा सकेंगे दुनिया में वो उठा लें। आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस को उन्होंने एलियन इंटेलिजेंस कहा है, तो मतलब ये ऐसी चीज़ें हैं जिनको हम देख भी नहीं पाएंगे और हमें उनके नुकसानात बहुत मिलेंगे। फ़ैसला आप कर लें, बताना मेरा काम था, या ये जो साहब फरमा रहे हैं इनको भी सुन लें। मैंने इसलिए शेयर किए ताकि मेरी बातें ना हों, एक एथेंटिक बातें हो जाएं। उसको कैसे लेना है आप ले लें। अल्लाह आपके लिए बेहतरी करे और हमारे लिए भी बेहतरी करे। अपना ख्याल रखिएगा, बहुत सारा ख्याल रखिएगा। अल्लाह हाफिज़।
So to conclude, we've just basically encountered an alien intelligence, not in outer space, but here on Earth. We don't know much about this alien intelligence, except that it could destroy our civilization. So we should put a halt to the irresponsible deployment of this alien intelligence into our societies and regulate AI before it regulates us. And the first regulation, there are many regulations we could suggest, but the first regulation that I would suggest is to make it mandatory for AI to disclose that it is an AI. If I'm having a conversation with someone and I cannot tell whether this is a human being or an AI, that's the end of democracy, because that's the end of meaningful public conversations. Now, what do you think about what you just heard over the last 20 or 25 minutes? Some of you, I guess, might be alarmed. Some of you might be angry at the corporations that develop these technologies or at the governments that fail to regulate them. Some of you may be angry at me, thinking that I'm exaggerating the threat or that I'm misleading the public. But whatever you think, I bet that my words have had some emotional impact on you. Not just intellectual impact, also emotional impact. I've just told you a story, and this story is likely to change your mind about certain things and may even cause you to take certain actions in the world. Now, who created this story that you've just heard and that just changed your mind and your brain? Now, I promised you that I wrote the text of this presentation myself with the help of a few other human beings, even though the images have been created with the help of AI. I promised you that at least the words you heard are the cultural product of a human mind, or several human minds. But can you be absolutely sure that this is the case? Now, a year ago, you could. A year ago, there was nothing on earth, at least not in the public domain, other than a human mind that could produce such a sophisticated and powerful text. But now it's different. In theory, the text you just heard could have been generated by a non-human alien intelligence. So take a moment, or more than a moment, to think about it. Thank you.
That was an extraordinary presentation, Yuval. And I'm actually going to just find out, how many of you found that scary? That is an awful lot of very clever people in here who found that scary. There are many, many questions to ask, so I'm going to take some from the audience and some from online. So, gentleman here.
I'm the field chief editor of Frontiers in Sustainability. It was a wonderful presentation. I loved your book. I follow you dearly in my heart. So one question out of many is that about the regulation of AI, regulating AI, I very much agree with the principle, but now the question becomes how, right? So I think that it's very difficult to build a nuclear reactor in your basement, but definitely you can train your AI in your basement quite easily. So how can we regulate that? And one kind of related question to that is that, well, this whole forum, Frontiers in Forum, is really about open science and open information, open data. And most of AI that are out there is trained using publicly available information, including patents and books and scriptures, right? So regulating AI doesn't mean that we should regulate and bring those information in a confined space, which goes against the open science and open data initiatives that we are really also thinking that is really important for us.
Well, the black box is an algorithm, isn't it? That's the algorithm.
No, there are always trade-offs. And the thing is, just to understand what kind of regulations we need, we first need time. Now, at present, these very powerful AI tools, they are still not produced by individual hackers in their basements. You need an awful lot of computing power, you need an awful lot of money, so it's being led by just a few major corporations and governments. And again, it's going to be very, very difficult to regulate something on a global level, because it's an arms race. But there are things which countries have a benefit to regulate even only themselves. Like, again, this example of an AI must, when it is in interaction with a human, must disclose that it is an AI. Even if some authoritarian regime doesn't want to do it, the EU or the United States or other democratic countries can have this. And this is essential to protect the open society. Now, there are many questions around, censorship online. So you have this controversy about, is Twitter or Facebook, who authorized them to, for instance, prevent the former president of the United States from making public statements? And this is a very complicated issue. But there is a very simple issue with bots. Human beings have freedom of expression. Bots don't have freedom of expression. It's a human right. Humans have it, bots don't. So if you deny freedom of expression to bots, I think that should be fine with everybody.
Let's take another question. If you could just pass the microphone down here.
I'm Francoise Bayless, and I'm a philosopher. I just have an interesting question, or I think it's an interesting question. There you go. I have a question for you with respect to your choice of language, moving from artificial to alien, because artificial suggests that there's still some kind of human control, whereas I think alien suggests foreign, but it also suggests, at least in the imagination, a life form. So I'm curious as to what work you're trying to have those words do for you.
It's definitely still artificial in the sense that we produce it, but it's increasingly producing itself. It's increasingly learning and adapting by itself. So artificial is a kind of wishful thinking, that it's still under our control. And it's getting out of our control. So in this sense, it is becoming an alien force, not necessarily evil. Again, it can also do a lot of good things, but the first thing to realize is it's alien. We don't understand how it works. I mean, one of the most shocking things about all this technology, you talk to the people who lead it, and you ask them questions about how it works, what can it do, and they said, we don't know. I mean, we know how we built it initially, but then it really learns by itself. Now, there is an entire discussion to be had about whether this is a life form or not. Now, I think that it still doesn't have any consciousness, and I don't think that it's impossible for it to develop consciousness, but I don't think it's necessary for it to develop consciousness either. That's a problematic, that's an open question. But life doesn't necessarily mean consciousness. We have a lot of life forms, microorganisms, plants, whatever, fungi, which we think they don't have consciousness. We still regard them as a life form. And I think AI is getting very, very close to that position. Now, ultimately, of course, what is life is a philosophical question. I mean, we define the boundaries. And, you know, like, is a virus life or not? We think that an amoeba is life, but a virus, it's somewhere just on the borderline between life and not life. Then it's, you know, it's language. It's our choice of words. So I think it is important, of course, how we call AI, but the most important thing is to really understand what we are facing and not to comfort ourselves with this kind of wishful thinking. Oh, it's something we created, it's under our control. If it does something wrong, we'll just pull the plug. Nobody knows how to pull the plug anymore.
I'm going to take a question from our online audience. This is from Michael Brown in the US. What do you think about the possibility that artificial general intelligence already exists, and it, or those who have access to artificial general intelligence, are already influencing societal systems?
I think it's very, very unlikely. We wouldn't be sitting here if there actually existed an artificial general intelligence. When I look at the world and the chaotic stage, artificial general intelligence is really the end of human history. And it's such a powerful thing. It's not something that anybody can contain. And so when I look at the chaotic state of the world, I'm quite confident, again, from a historical perspective, that nobody has it anywhere. How much time it will take to develop artificial general intelligence, I don't know. But to threaten the foundations of civilization, we don't need artificial general intelligence. Again, go back to social media. Very, very primitive AI was still sufficient to create enormous social and political chaos. If I think about it in kind of evolutionary terms, so AI now just crawled out of the organic soup, like the first organisms that crawled out of the organic soup 4 billion years ago. How long it will take it to reach Tyrannosaurus Rex? How long it will take it to reach Homo sapiens? Not 4 billion years. Could be just 40 years. It's the thing about digital evolution, it's moving on a completely different timescale than organic evolution.
Can I thank you? It's been absolutely wonderful. It's been such a treat to have you here. And no doubt you'll stay with us for a little while afterwards, but the whole audience, please join me in thanking Yuval Noh Harari.